But reason why I emphasize that is that, like, for me, what I like to try to grow are unique varieties of things that people normally would eat.
Okay.
So potatoes. We all know our standard sort of like yellow flesh sort of potato or white flesh sort of potato, right? But if you can actually grow a variety that's a purple bluish color potato, right?
So how are you today?
Man, I'm doing good. Hey. What we doing in the garden today. That's just how we doing good, man.
That's awesome.
Just trying to grow food, what I mean?
So I had a interesting question for you today.
All right.
So I know a lot of women, my girlfriend included, love plants. They love flowers. They love just good-looking, big, nice, big leaf plants. So my question was, what's something for them to grow that's both good-looking and either you can eat or will be useful? Because I always joke around with her saying, like, why do you have the plant's useless? You just look at it. You take care of it to look at it. But what's something that is good-looking and will also be useful?
That's a loaded question, because what they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That's okay.
So I'm going to emphasize.
Getting philosophical.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to get deep. You got to let people know that we just don't play in the dirt. But reason why I emphasize that is that, like, for me, what I like to try to grow are unique varieties of things that people normally would eat.
Okay.
So potatoes. We all know our standard sort of like yellow flesh sort of potato or white flesh sort of potato, right? But if you can actually grow a variety that's a purple bluish color potato, right?
Same like potato, not a sweet potato?
Not a sweet potato. It's like an Irish potato, right? And you can grow it the same way that you grow like your Irish potato, but just imagine when it comes up, it's still going to look about the same with the flowers, but imagine you cooking a dish. And you're making like your standard sort of like garlic and mashed potatoes, but instead of that the white, the red Pontiac, whatever, you add this blue potato in and you kind of mix it together. And then you kind of have like, and parents do this a lot with kids, like, oh, this look nasty, it's a blue potato, I don't know if I want to eat it. But serving that to like your friends, like, that's beauty, right? Because like you think about that plate that you just made, and now you have like this blue mashed potato beside it, and then you might have right next to it, like there's actually like broccolis that have like a purple hue to it, right? So again, it grows like your typical broccoli that you're looking for, but it has like a purple hue, or better yet, cauliflower. Man, there's so many unique colors of cauliflower, but also unique shapes of cauliflower. Like there's some that have like looks almost like little cones on it. Like little diamonds and little pyramids that on top of like the cauliflower, and it might be in a yellowish color or a purple or pinkish color. And so when I think of beauty, like to me, it's all about colors, right? So when I do the workshops and things with kids, we always talk about taste the rainbow, so adding different colors to like the space. So you think about somebody growing in their garden and they walk around, they love flowers and they love like the brightness of colors, but it's broccoli. And it's cauliflowers that have that sort of appeal, or even better yet, like tomatoes. So you go in there and you're seeing like a tomato that's a black tomato, right? Or you turn around and look and you have one that has like a purple colored tomato, or one that's orange, right?
Yeah.
But when you cut into it, they might have different flavors and different tastes, but that's just on our palate and our profile. And one thing, and again about color, so I love growing colorful carrots, because they're like the mystery.
They have colorful carrots?
Man, yes, they do.
They don't just look like this?
They don't look like this, not at all, and so what I do, and even they say like some of the original forms of carrot before it got kind of passed down for commercial were actually of a purple hue. And so we grow a variety called Red Dragon. I do Red Dragon, which is like a purple hue based carrot, and then we have one that's called Golden Nugget and Yellowstone that kind of have like a yellow color tint to it. And I love colors because carrots, they're buried underneath the ground, right? And you just know the leaves will look the same, but you want to see a kid flip out, like literally, like what, like flip out. plant a rainbow mixture of carrots in a space and just have them just go for it and start pulling. Like we had at our Fifth Avenue garden site, like I had like a 50-foot row of just different varieties of carrots. And like the kids would just go crazy. They'll pull up that very first like yellow one. They're like, what is this? And they're like, can I pull another? And they're like, pull another. Like, it's like Brewster's Millionaire just throwing money and stuff in there, right? And so, but that's the beauty. So when you're talking about like somebody that's into like aesthetics, into like appearances, into like colors and things like that, the different color varieties will be what brings them in, you know? So it's like not just having your typical like collard that's just typical green. You have like some that have like a reddish like tint to them, or like a bluish tint to them, you know. Or thinking about like watermelons, right? So yeah, you have your typical like red flesh meat watermelon, but you got varieties, man, that are like yellow. You got some that like orange glow that have like an orange color to it. Then you have like an old traditional like icebox like sort of watermelon where the meat inside is just like a white flesh meat. Right?
Whoa, really?
So it's like that, like you're asking about the color, the variety, to make it beautiful. Like imagine you doing like a fruit salad of like watermelon. You have all these different colors and hues that are just part of it, but each of them having like a different flavor to it.
Yeah.
That just adds to like the palate and the creativity. But that's what growing food is about, man. Because if you start to look at like something like a sweet potato that you mentioned earlier, like, I got purple sweet potatoes you can grow. I have sweet potato, like when people hear yams, you know, we think of like Thanksgiving with the candy syrup, but there's actually like a yam sweet potato that has like a white meat to it. Some people call it like a Japanese sweet potato.
Okay.
And so it has a purple color, purple skin, but when you cut into it, the meat of it is like white. And again, it has like a sweet taste that you think of a sweet potato.
Yeah.
But it's just introducing people to different like colors, but they're different cultural like habits of eating and things like that. So like when I hear people like, oh, when I have a little pizzazz, like let's just grow something wild, man. Let's do. Have you ever heard of a karabi? And they're like, karabi? Did you say karabi? Like, no, yes, karabi. And so karabi is this type of root that grows above ground. It's in the same family as like collards and cabbages, but it grows above ground and it tends to have like a reddish color to it, or they call like a purple Vienna variety of it.
Okay.
But when you can chop it up like how you do cabbage, but it looks like a turnip root, right? But it's like, man, what is this?
How do you spell that?
Good question. You have to look that one up, buddy. Karabi. Y'all got it. That's one of my strengths, right? I can talk about the food all day, but sometimes my spelling, oh, Lord.
That sounds good, though.
No, it is. It's quite tasty, and I wish I could. I always say, you said spell Karabi. I'm like, K-O, Robbie. But again, it's something that we're trying to introduce to people to try out. It's easy to grow, and he threw me off, man, about how to spell it. I didn't realize my English teacher was going to be here today. Good Lord. I mean, we're talking about just growing food. I just grow the food.
I'm thinking about right when we get done, I want to go Google it. I want to find one.
I think that's going to be the tagline. Google it. It's like I'm going to Google it. We'll make it work. But that's part of what it's about too. It's like you find these varieties, like names you can't pronounce, but you like try like in a recipe, and you're like, man, this was good. Like, and then you're trying to explain it to your friends, and you're like, I'm jacking up this name, so let me just take a picture of it and let me send it to you. Let me find like a code or whatever. But like that's always my recommendation for people that are looking at like how can we add a little bit of pizzazz to like our garden space, because like I know being a grower that you want a little bit of variety, you want more variety than what you can find at your typical grocery store, and that's one of the reasons that kind of brings you into like growing food for yourself. It's like I know there has to be more flavors or more interesting shapes of things, like even thinking of like squash. A lot of times we want a grocery store, they just have like the yellow, just straight neck summer squash. Yeah. But man, they have these things that's called like a pan squash, which is like basically looks like a small little starburst, right? So you just think of like a star shape, like fruit growing on like trees, like growing on your plants and stuff, and they're just really small. Cut them up, chop them up, put some olive oil on it, put it like a little bit of aluminum foil and some seasoning on your grill.
I'm so hungry.
Heaven. But that's what it's about, man. Like that's why we eat all day as farmers. Like, man, this is just so good.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, cool. I'm trying to think of anything we may want to say. Because, like, I love the idea because the whole thing was all about growing something beautiful and useful.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because whatever you grow, you can eat. Because I love cooking. I cook just about every night, and I love the idea that I can walk outside, grab something that I took time to grow, something that's beautiful, and I can cook it and eat it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I also like is the fact that I can plan something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So like when we working with the kids, we tend to think in terms of what holidays are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What holidays can we grow to feed people for that holiday? And what shocking thing can we introduce them to in time for that, like the holiday to happen? So it's just like, 4th of July is going to come. We know people are going to want to sit down and enjoy like a nice like watermelon on a hot day.
Yeah.
So like, well, let's grow some of these orange glow watermelons. So that way when we have like a community meal, we can like to have the kids grow it. They can give it to their friends and family and say, cut it up. And like, that's what we shoot for. Even like the kids, like our farm to school work. It's like thinking about Thanksgiving and thinking about Christmas and thinking that most people are going to sit home with their family. And so what can that child grow in their backyard at their school that can be served as part of like their Thanksgiving dish, So
some yams,
the ham, like the broccoli casserole, the green beans that we talked about, you know what I mean? You could think about even like some of the corn and things like that. And so that becomes I use the story I always tell people about me and getting and falling in love with like tomatoes, right? And so oftentimes I imagine you coming to a friend's house just for like a nachos for like the Super Bowl or the big game, and they give you some salsa, but it's made with like a yellow tomato as its base, right? You'd be like, man, what is this? But then you take a bite and it's like, oh yeah, man. And so that's what growing food has like the capabilities of doing, because what people realize, and we might have lost sight because we're like in a fast-paced sort of culture, but when we used to sit down about the food and just like enjoy it being prepared, enjoy eating it, and that was part of like our palate, like that's what culturally made us community, right? So it was like, I always remember like if we sat down and ate, there were other people in the community that would come by and get like a little plate or something like to go, because we would have an abundance of it. Because like we talk about with growing out of a garden, it's easy to grow more than 2 bunches of collard greens. Like it's easy. Like, man, you've been out to the garden before. Like I could sit down and just talk to you for like 10 minutes and harvest like 10 bunches of greens and still got more to go.
Yeah.
So imagine if people knew like, oh, we got greens available. Let's just have like a friendly competition. Who makes the best greens, a green dish? So you take people, some people might make some collard green pesto, or some people might take it and make some collard green spring wraps or whatever. But that sort of like ways of, because we talked about beauty, and like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So you taking that collard leaf, turning it into what you want to serve is your beauty, right? Me taking it and honoring my grandmother might be my beauty. But we all are like just like throwing it. But like how you said, being a cook, like I love cooking for my family. Like I'm literally like just looking at a recipe like menu like every weekend. Like this is what we're gonna throw down and eat this week. Oh yeah, I've never tried this before. Oh, let me try this. And like how you say, to be able to go out and say what I have in the backyard, and thinking about, well, how many ways can I prepare cabbage? How many ways can I prepare broccoli? Or how many ways can I prepare like squash or zucchini? But then thinking about, I'm going to plant this in 2 months, I'm going to have a harvest, but I'm going to plant the seed now. So that way when you show up, I got you. I got you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for this one. I think this was, I don't know. I feel like it got a little more philosophical, but I love that, because I think it's good that you change what people think about growing, because it's not where they have a green thumb or not. There's an art to it.
Yeah. And like what we say, that it's not so much about what I've learned about growing food, and you just talk about the philosophies, is that it always puts you in a space where you have to be comfortable with failure, because you just never know what's going to happen. You can have the seed. You could even have like the same soil that 2 seeds are planted right next to each other, and then one of them just doesn't come up. So, just create like a space where people can like, hey, I'm gonna make a mistake, I'm gonna try it, but as long as you kind of come back to it, they kind of keep coming,
Yeah.
then eventually you can't. I have farmer friends that don't grow everything. They've found like those 3 or 4 crops that they're really good at, and that's what they grow, and they will teach you how to grow the best tomatoes, the best carrots, the best collards, the best sweet potatoes. They will teach you how to do it. But if you would go back and ask them to grow something else, they're like, well, I tried it and that really it didn't connect with me. And that's what growing food is about. You find those things you can connect with, and that's what you share. So that's why I'm always known for like collard greens and sweet potatoes. Those are like my 2 crops, and I'm like, I can grow those. Let's go.
Yeah.
And everything else, I can show you how to do it, but you want to know how to grow some good greens, I'm your man. Some good sweet potatoes, I'm your man. I got you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, man. Looking forward to see y'all again. Peace.